Hi, welcome to Ascension and 5D Chats. I'm here with Caitlin de León, and we are talking about Pleiadians and how they help us with Ascension. Welcome to Ascension and 5D Chat, where we discuss what is happening with our planet's Ascension journey. I am Rachel Chamness. I help lightworkers connect to their spiritual helpers and light path. Welcome, Caitlin. Thanks for coming.
Thanks so much. I'm so happy to be here, Rachel. I appreciate you inviting me on the show.
Well, I'm excited to talk about this. So Caitlin is a Reiki master teacher. She's a master trance channel and a liquid Reiki sound healer, and also a light language practitioner. And she brings in a team. It's a community, right, of Pleaidian beings called Vera Light. And I want to hear you tell everyone about Vera Light because they're really interesting.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Well, the way that I see them is three beings representing the power of three, the Holy Trinity. They focus a lot on heart chakra, compassion, healing within the self and within others out there in the community. And they send me a message. They call themselves liaisons because when I do a reading for someone and I'm connecting through Vera Light, the messages are coming from them, but they like to explore out there in the universe and go visit other beings who want to work with the person or the client that I'm reading for. So that is very interesting. And they are very subtle in their communication. I would say the way they communicate with me most often is a claircognizance. So it is a balance of are they talking to me or is it, my thoughts? But I know when I get into that flow and there's kind of like a click of connection there that it's coming from Vera Light. So, but they're really interested in, helping us to live in the light and develop compassion and keep that, especially in these really challenging times that we have.
That's so cool. I love that. So you're channeling the channelers.
Yeah, it's interesting.
That's so cool. Okay, so this week we asked our Pleiadians, I just called in any Pleiadians who wanted to talk to me, and Caitlin brought in Vera Light to channel some messages for this so that we could give some help or answer the question how Pleiadians are helping us with Ascension. So tell us what you got. What did Vera Light say?
Okay, so, it's, again, a very challenging time on the planet. There's a lot of Pleiadian starseeds out there, and they're Pleiadians in general, are working with those that are here on the planet to help us bring more light workers together, exactly what you do, Rachel. And, even if it's not in this formal training, light worker development type of thing, but just bringing together groups in positive ways that are helping to counter some of the more negative energy that's out there. They tell me that, this is a message that they bring again and again, but it's almost that we all have amnesia in a sense, and we need to hear it again. So, or like short-term memory loss almost in kind of a way, because it's like, you hear it and you're like, absolutely, of course, we want to embrace the light, and we, but there's all these different things happening that are coming at us in every direction about trying to challenge that.
I think that it's also just that we get dense. We get hit with all this dense energy here in the 3D. And then of course we need the reminder, reminders are important, but go on.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, totally. And then more time in meditation, of course. A lot of us have our routines. You're like, oh, I have time to do my meditation in the morning, or, or I don't have time today, or this, that, and the other. And they're calling for more spontaneous meditation, just stopping where you are and connecting right then, even if it's a short amount of time. So I'm kind of stepping away from that rigid schedule that some of us hold and just doing when it feels right.
That's really cool. I'll tell you what I got. I brought in these two Pleaidian beings. I just said, who wants to come in? I got these two really quickly, and they spelled their names for me, which always makes me laugh.
It's so cool.
You know that it can't be exactly right, but that's what they said. So it's Chiçon and Saphall. So the first one was Chiçon, and I have it written here, so I'm just going to read it. We wish to impart that now is the time to find joy in strife. Now is not an easy or simple time. We understand you are struggling. There's fear, there's deception. There are many personal factors you are all dealing with as well. Why? Why does this have to happen? We regret to inform you, I thought that was funny, that this is the part of Ascension that can be the densest. You might feel discouraged or even feel like you have been played the fool for believing in such beautiful outcomes for the planet when all looks so bleak. Yet, this is part of the design. Keep the faith of compassion for yourself and others. Keep that heart-centered love circulating to those who are deep in argument and blindness. Do not stoke the fire of taking sides. Connect to Source daily and give your grateful thanks to all that is going well, and you will see the knots untying and the rewards of ascension before you realize it. Presence and gratitude and meditation always is the answer. I mean, those are things we know, but it's nice to hear, I think.
It is so nice to hear. I love the way that they put that too.
It's like untying the knots. Yeah.
Yeah, that's I mean, exactly. Because it is the taking sides, the arguing about things. That's what they're really asking for, new approaches. And those type of, the sides, the fighting.
That's the fourth dimensional thing that we're fighting against. That's the dark side of fourth dimension.
Yeah. And so, I mean, that's been going on for a long time. And so they're just saying, you're not going to move forward continuing that approach. But they believe that the knot unties naturally by focusing on the healing and the light.
And your own personal journey. And then Saphall said something too. So it goes, I think it goes nicely together. Okay, so here we go.
Okay.
So then I said, well, Saphall, you tell me, like, are you here? Are you helping us? How are you helping us? Like, tell us some more. So he said, I'm not sure about the gender of either of these, honestly. Yes, we are here, always here. We watch, send messages, and help where we can by sending subtle energy waves. These waves are for healing and avoiding some of the worser timelines. We connect you to your higher self in times to wake you up from falling down a denser path. Call on us and we will answer with more healing help. I just want to say that keeping us from falling down a denser path. I've been feeling that lately, but there's more. Let me read a little bit more. We are close by and committed to helping the human race to get to ascension. How fast you get there is depending on you, Lightworker. You working on yourself and your personal ascension helps all. This is a personal journey done in a group. Help yourself, help others, and we will see you at the finish line. So that's
yeah, I love that.
Me too. And that is what they show me. It's like, a lot of this ascension journey is personal, and you have to be the one to help yourself, and of course get help where you need it. But in the end, you're the one working on yourself and releasing denser ideas and all kinds of denser energies. And in that, by healing yourself, it's like you're bringing the whole group up. All the group is working on themselves. And as a group, we rise up higher in energy, in vibration, in ascension.
Yeah, they're always giving me an analogy. I say this again and again in my readings, like the rising tide lifts all the boats kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. We can talk a little bit about how they're saying they can help us avoid some of the, as he says, worser timelines. I really see that a lot. There's a lot of timelines. I feel like we have avoided some really bad ones. However, the one we're on doesn't seem all that awesome either. But they say that, there are worse ones. And I see that it will work out. It's just like we can't avoid everything completely. It's part of the design, as they said,
Hold on, I'm like immediately just getting like, well, it's kind of the same, but we can talk about it from a different perspective because, it's like the thoughts as well. Don't go with those thoughts. Those thoughts are going to bring that in.
That's a big, the thought you were talking about, these like low vibrational community thoughts. It's like, I've seen this, and I had a channel a few weeks ago where they were saying it's like angry bees, this angry, it's a group consciousness of feeling that you can't let it grab you, unconsciousness.
Right.
And so, yeah, those thoughts come in, and you have to say, hey, I hear that thought, meaning that it didn't come from me. So I don't have to latch on to that thought. And I mean, it's hard, we are always working on ourselves, and it's not about, oh, love and light only, nothing else is allowed. We do have to take those moments to look deep and work on ourselves, but we can do it in a way that's not so low, where we get so low about it, understanding that we're just human. We're here for this purpose, exactly this purpose, to work on ourselves and go through these things, and that it's like a normal thing to do and not a terrible thing, or something we've done horribly wrong, or something that makes us, feel like that.
I think that's quite common. Yeah, definitely. I mean, we, often spend more time worrying about, something that happens, and then it's like the thing has happened, and then it's time to move on. And, we live in the past of it. Or yes, we're beating ourselves up, exactly as you said, or replaying things in our mind, or just kind of like the mind wants to go all over the place.
It does. It would
and
like you to remember that time that you embarrassed yourself,
Yeah, right. And spirit is like, you know what? It's okay. It's you learning. This is all part of the process. You're an eternal being, and you've lived it as many different beings, many different lifetimes, and this is nothing. And you'll probably not, once you're gone and ascended and living another plane of existence, that's not something that you're going to be thinking about. But beating up on yourself, constantly, that's definitely part of the challenge. But do you see other planets and beings doing that a lot? Or you think it's something that just happens here on Earth because of like the society that we created here?
What, the repeating thoughts and things like that? I think it's third dimensional. I really do. It's third dimensional, and it's that group consciousness that is created by lower dimensional thoughts. And it can grab you. Eckhart Tolle talks about that in A New Earth. And that book, I think, is really, no matter what you think about him, is totally channeled. I really like him, but
I do too.
Like
yeah. Yeah,
but
absolutely.
I think that book is like, it's just really amazing. And he talks about this part, like he tells a story. If you remember this, have you read that book?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So he tells that story where the woman at the restaurant gets so mad and leaves, or man. And then after they left, like he felt like that consciousness was like trying to grab onto him and make him mad, and how he had to reject it. And I think about that a lot, because I often feel these energies, and as many empaths or psychics do, you feel these energies from other people, and it's hard not to glob onto it, because we are a group of beings who like community, and it's hard not to get caught up in the community feelings. I think that's a really great way that we can call on the Pleiadians. Like Saphall says, they can keep us from falling into that. When you find yourself falling into that, or when someone is so passionately trying to pull you into it. So I had a situation where I felt like, where it could have gone badly, where I was being misunderstood, and the other person was deep in that sort of circular thoughts and misunderstanding, and I didn't let it pull me in, and it became resolved. It's just a thing that happens. Sometimes it's very hard to step back and say, hey, this is not what's happening. I don't need to dive into this. I don't need, in the past, I might have been spending hours and hours trying to explain myself deeply, citing things I said, and trying to prove my point. And I just felt like, it's all going to be fine. This person will realize they're kind of stuck in a little pattern, and they'll come out of it, and we'll come out of it. It'll be okay.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, it's like we're also tempted to do that. And it's not easy. I mean, that happens to me too. And, sometimes I do react to things and,
Well, we're human. That's a thing.
Yeah, definitely. This actually reminds me, this conversation reminds me of something else that Vera Light was sharing with me. And I know we hear like so many beings are always telling us about connecting with the earth. And just because it's so important, it's like we want to ascend, but we also are here. And while we're here, it's very important to connect with nature, have that respect for the earth, eat plant-based when possible, those types of things. And it's almost like developing a relationship between higher vibrations and where we are now. And that in itself is a balance. I just got this image of like, there are some tribes of people now, those communities that are almost kind of trying to escape their human self right now, just to tune out what's happening. And so that, I think, it's very important to kind of come back a little bit, because avoidance and detachment is not necessarily the right way. But I think Eckhart talks a little bit about like, more of a conscious detachment. So it's not like avoidance, but it's like,
Right.
exactly what you're describing, where you're observing a situation, you're not being pulled into it.
You're not letting your heart rate go up, and you're, it's not like you don't get sucked in. You're just gonna kind of observe. Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's like, if there's groups of people that are kind of like escaping to some degree, if this makes sense, I'm trying to
It does.
understand how they want me to say it. That's when you can almost be led, that group can almost be led in a like a cult-ish type of experience. So
That's a good way of pointing it out. Yeah.
yeah. So
Yeah. I mean, and of course, as mediums or as light workers, we want to have these experiences that feel very high vibrational, doing meditations or attunements or things that make you feel really high vibe. But then, of course, we must return. And, the earth will be 5D. So connecting to earth and connecting to nature, that is more 5D than 3D, even
yeah,
though, 3D, of course, there are spiritual terms of densities and dimensions, and there are, scientific terms, and they do have correlations, but we meet them in slightly different ways. But this 5D earth, we can connect to earth, and we can connect to 5D earth and still be present here. That is
yeah.
that's a good thing to do. And what you're saying is also really important, that we need to use discernment. It's so easy to say this, this being and this person is going to save us. I don't think that's a message. I have never gotten a message that some person is going to come in and save us. The message that I get constantly, day in and day out, from many, many, many different light beings, galactical, angelic, whatever, elemental, is that, they're here to help us save ourselves. And that is the only way to ascension. You can't just ride on someone's coattails or have someone do it for you. You have to do the personal work, and you have to release these energies, release these thoughts, try to, we call it what, 0 point or fifth dimensional viewpoint. There's many words for coming to that space where you see what's happening, and you don't dive into it. You don't become emotionally involved. And it doesn't mean that you're not emotional, but you choose not to debate or take sides,
Yeah, definitely. It's just it's using energy in a way that's best used in different ways, essentially, kind of driving the ship. Which direction do you want to go?
Well, I'm I'm a Sagittarius. I have extra Sagittarius in my chart. I have a lot of fire in my chart. And I have always been an extremely reactionary person. So, that's probably how my family remembers me best, like reacting dramatically, So for me to actually come to this, and it's not 100% at all. I tell you, I can still react and then step back and say, "Whoa, I'm reacting. Stop, 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 stop." But I find that with the more work I do, the easier it is to come to this place. And I mean, it's really a huge step for me to be able to say, "Wow, this is just, something they're going through, not something that it's not about me." And I don't need to get offended, you know?
Yeah.
And there's always that little voice like, "You should be offended. Don't let this person talk to you like that," you know? It's like, well,
Yeah.
that's really their thing. They're something they're going through. They're hopefully going to get through it, and it's not about you, that sort of thing, and not get pulled in. It's a huge step for me, and it's nice, and it doesn't make me a less passionate person. It doesn't make me cold. It just helps me to not get sucked in, basically.
Yeah. I mean, I can relate to that being a Leo. So I've got the fire too, and I've got a Sagittarius rising. So
I've
that's
got Leo
just,
rising.
yeah, you do. So it's just like, that's my first, line of defense is to want to react. And so I've been trying to, and it's hard. I mean, I think it is, so us fire signs must have it like a little bit more challenging for that reason. Cause I mean, we just want to woo. Um, but I'm trying to channel it a little bit more into creativity, and just because if I react like that, I mean, I don't know, sometimes I used to find it, it was a nice release, but to find that release in some other way, the other person might not think so though. They're like, I'm gonna stay away from you for a while.
I
I was
find
like,
an
no, I'm
easier
fine.
release is just nature,
Yeah.
that sort of thing happens. Like yesterday, I just sat out. I just out in my backyard.
Oh, so nice.
My new house in Tennessee is really nice. The backyard's like so. It's just really nice and
So
quiet. And
beautiful there.
it's so pretty here.
Are you're close by the mountains, right?
Yep, I can see them.
Nice. I love that.
So nice. It's just, and it's very quiet here, and at least where I live, Knoxville can be a bit of a bowl situation, which is what I hear. Haven't been here long enough to form my own opinions or really know the map.
Yeah.
Have no idea. I'm still using GPS, like to get anywhere, but it can be a little of a bowl echo situation, but we're pretty high up. So I don't have that. It's just super quiet, which is it's new for me. I've always lived in loud places, close to the city.
Yeah.
And this time I'm not that close. So, I mean, I am in the city, but I'm not close to downtown or any kind of, I don't know, noises I've been used to.
Really.
So,
Yeah.
quiet.
I actually wanted to ask you something about nature, too. When humans were first on the planet, on Earth, they relied on nature so much more, for survival and all of that. So, and now we're more disconnected, kind of just how things evolved. Like, what do you think about that? And, is it because we're just incarnated from another place at that point in time?
Oh, it's because we are a big Earth experiment. Everything on Earth is an experiment. Oh, look, we thought it was extinct, but now it's back. How did that happen? Or look at, we find a new species every day. I think that the Earth is a big experiment for ETs, and we are lab made, some sort of ET lab made. We are all made up of ETs, not all the same ETs, so we don't have the same body chemistry. That's why things can be so different for one person and another, especially like with diets and things like that. But I find it just really interesting. I'd love to think about these sort of things and like our biology and our past and how we came here and how we got to where we are now in this society. It's just so really interesting to me. And so what I have asked this question a lot, and I've gotten a lot of channeling about it, is my point. So what I
Yeah.
see is that I think there's been many parts of humanity where we did this thing and we found a way to live, and then we did this other thing, or like we tried this, or we tried that, we were hunter gatherers, then we were agriculture. Now, we live a pretty removed life from that, and we buy things from a store. And what I actually see for our ascension is that we will be much less dependent on food in general, and things will be different. Now, how can we see what's going to happen? I think it's hard to actually have a pure vision of what it's going to be like while our brain is still somewhat 3D, 4D. So mainly third dimensional. So it's hard to really see it, but I kind of see that like food will be a different thing. I think things will be different, and who knows what kind of creatures might be in our future here. Perhaps we'll see unicorns again, like in the times of Atlantis. Right now they vibrate at a higher vibration, like fairies and other beings. And sometimes you can see them in your third eye or their shadow. And, if you know how to talk to them and connect with them like we do, then we can get their information, and that's awesome. But and galactical beings too, they can only really talk to us through mediumship, and most, hopefully we will be seeing them soon in person.
Absolutely. And I see, the Pleiadians really having that role, because I feel that they can relate to the human experience very well. So, I mean, I always see them as like, a really good friend, it's like you can rely on. All guides are, but they're just
they do become like friends, these spirit guides or guides that we connect with.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think it's all really exciting and interesting on where things are going.
I think the Pleiadians are one of the bigger groups that help humanity, and that's why so many people feel so connected to them. I believe the Lyrians help a lot. The Blue Avians definitely help a great deal. And even though I feel more like I'm a Pleiadian starseed, I actually communicate more with the Blue Avians myself. But, and what I believe about starseeds is that being a starseed is like, where you feel home, because we've lived all over the place. It's not like we just lived on one planet. And it's not like we have an origin on a planet. Our origin is source. So it's kind of like saying, well, I was born in Baton Rouge, but Chicago's my home, or, or Knoxville's my home, I would say. So, and then of course we all have the DNA too. So that makes that's part of us being a starseed. So I think it's kind of a confusing term, but one that helps us confirm that we are not just this human being. There's infinite life for our soul. There's so many experiences, and this life is just one of them. And I think that's really what helps come to 0 point or to fifth dimensional viewpoint, is that knowing. It's like, this is just an experience. And even if I trip and die, trip and fall and die, or something, some crazy accident or something, my life won't be over. Even if the worst happens, my life is not over. And just remembering that so many experiences that seem so bad at the time really come out to something good. I mean, we can all trace back a really good thing from a really bad thing if we trace our steps on how we got there. And because everything's so important that we go through. The trauma is important, and that's why we're here. So unfortunately, we can't avoid it.
I know. Sadly, trauma is a gift. It's so hard to see it that way in the middle of it, of course, So, a lot of compassion for people who are really feeling it pretty intensely now and at any point in their life,
Yeah. Oh, what Chiçon was saying is exactly what I'm hearing from clients and tag members and friends, is that we are just in such a difficult space right now. And for many people, they feel like, I mean, it's just, how do I get past this? How do I get past this space? And just to remember, this is the densest part. This is the densest part. And what did Commander Ashtar, I brought that channel through in tag, and then I put it on Instagram too, and on IGTV. But that channel from him was that, you're 20% in to Ascension. So things are kind of ratcheting up, and it's not about time. Like, you can't say, okay, that was 2 years, so 20% more will be 2 more years. He's like, it's not about time. You can't, and we can't tell you the end. There's no way for us to tell you when it's going to happen. It's all up to you. You have to do your work. And then if everyone's doing their work and we're all ascending together, then, it'll be sooner. Or if you all get dense, then it's going to be later. And, they try to send us as many signs as possible. Like the astrological signs are a big one this year. Anyone can look at 2021 and say, oh yeah, a lot of stuff's going to happen this year. Even if you're not great at astrology like me, I'm not that great at it, but it's pretty obvious.
I know, yeah. That everyone's like making all the memes about 2020. I'm like, where are the 2021 memes?
Right.
It's just, but it's all like an endurance test too right now, because it's not much. It hasn't been much of a break for us all in these being faced with this the dense energy.
Yeah, you're right. It hasn't been much of a break. And we should look at that as a sign of that there will be, we just have to get through it.
Yeah.
So,
and believe that there will be.
Yeah. So, I get a lot of these messages, and sometimes they're the same, but put a different way with a new little twist or this or that. And I'm always like, well, tell me something earth shattering.
Yeah.
And then they're always like, but this is what people need to hear.
Yeah. It's true. Because we're, most of us are still working on, implementing that into our daily lives more fully. So, yeah, I agree with you. It's some straightforward type of messages, especially, that I get from the Pleiadians, but they do think that it's the right thing and what people need to hear. So,
I would say that for most of the messages that I get are along that vein, and they say we need to be reminded, we need to work on ourselves, and they do give us some little hints and things every once in a while.
Yeah, I know. Thank goodness.
So I wanted to tell everyone that Caitlin's in tag as well. She's on the tag team, and she gives beautiful messages live on, what night are you? Wednesday nights in Facebook?
Yep, I'm on the first and third Wednesday in tag team.
And she gives beautiful sessions as well. Here she is. So you have Reiki healing and messages from spirit sessions, and highly recommend them. This is where you can find her. Vera Light Healing at Gmail, or Vera Light Healing on Facebook or Instagram. And I just really am so glad that you came, and so nice to hear from Vera Light. Ever since they came in the first time, I'm like a big fan. I'm a big fan of Vera Light.
Oh, thank you. And thank you to Saphall and Chiçon.
Yeah, Chiçon, Saphall. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love what they had to say about things. Like it really it resonates with me, and I needed to hear it as well as I'm sure there are others.
Me too. They're so interesting, because I was like, I sat down, I was like, I wonder if anyone will talk to me right now. Could I talk to a Pleiadian? And they were like, here we are. CH. Telling me how to spell their names. Being a medium is so funny.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Well, thanks, Caitlin. Thanks for coming.
Thank you so much, Rachel. I appreciate it.
And for the audience, I'd love to hear if you connect to Pleiadians, if you have messages from Pleiadians, or if you feel like you're a Pleiadian Starseed, then we'd love to hear it below. So let us know.
Yeah.